Hi there, and thanks so much for joining me today because I figured it was time to give the XY a proper workout. And I thought, what a better way to do that than grabbing Thome Yorke's Suspirium and trying to recreate that in here. Now, the results I got were both incredibly frustrating and amazingly good also. Now, in case you haven't been following the channel lately, I bought the XY with my own money, so no shilling, no sponsors, no nothing. And the last couple of videos, I've basically just been drooling over it because it has been incredibly inspiring. But this one's a little different because I ran into every single bug you can imagine and more. Now, just in case you don't know the song already, it was made by Thome Yorke, the lead singer and composer from Radiohead. It's my favorite artist and singer ever. And it was made for the soundtrack of the movie Suspirium. It's just a wonderful song, definitely one of my favorite things to play on the piano, but since my shoulder injury, I really can't play that long without getting really fatigued. And actually, I'm kind of leaning on the desk here so I can try to do this without too much arm strength required. So I thought, why not sequence this whole thing on the XY? So here's the deal. The very basics of the XY sequencer is that you get 16 steps. And you also get 4 bars, so that would be 64 steps maximum. However, you can mess with the track scaling, and that can give you up to, I think, 1024 steps, which is actually pretty impressive. Okay, so first things first, we need a proper tempo. This thing is in 3/4, it's a waltz. So we're gonna go into configuration, and we're gonna go into tempo, and I'm gonna set this baby right here to 3/4. Next step, I want my sound to be what I need, and the XY actually comes with some lovely presets. There we go. That's nice. And I think I'm gonna give it a bit more release and a bit more sustain. Okay, that's good. Believe it or not, the XY is actually powering my Arturia Keylab via USB. And I've been playing this for quite a while, and it's still going. It's actually pretty impressive. So we have our basic sound, we have our tempo down, and as I said before, since my shoulder injury, I'm not that quick on the keys right now, so I'm going to turn down the tempo way down. And that's one of the very cool things about using MIDI here, is that I can play this in really slowly. And since it's all MIDI, I can just up the tempo then to the tempo that I want it, which is around 140, 145. So I'm going to keep it at 110. And now we get to the interesting part, which is the actual sequencer length. So I'm going to go here. If I press Shift and bar, it'll leave the sequencer menu open. So first of all, I'm going to give myself 4 bars. 1, 2, 3, 4. So now that it's all highlighted, I have the maximum steps. Right now my track scale is set to 1, and that means that I'll only get 64 steps, which is definitely not enough for the amount of notes that I'm going to be inputting here. So what I need to do is I need to go into the bar scaling thing, and in my scales I'm going to choose a different multiplier, and I'm going to go with 7. Now each step is going to take a lot longer to move on. One more thing. See what happened there? It's quantized, and I don't want that because this has a bit of swing. So I am going to take down the quantization, and I'm going to just bring it all the way down. YOLO, right? The other thing that I want to do is I want to give my actual metronome a bit of groove here, a little swing. There it is. So it's not that mechanical anymore. Let's try it again. How many bars did I use? 2. What I'm going to do is I'm going to press bar, and I'm going to say I only want you to get to here. So we're going to shorten this bar to here. Perfect. So remember that I talked about bugs at the beginning, right? Okay, first bug that I found is, let's say I wanted to do this in 4 bars, right? Boop, boop. We got 4 bars full. And now I want to play the entire, 2 verses side by side. Shoulders starting to act up again, so seatbelt on. Now let's go see how many notes we have. What's this? Where are the rest of my notes? Can someone please explain why that happens? This should be full. It did the whole loop, but I started noticing that it would just eat up parts of the recording. So look, on bar 1, we have all the notes over here, right? Bar 2, we have all the notes. Bar 3 cuts out. It's very, very strange. So what I needed now is a way to get the vocals. And that's where I got into one of my most amazing discoveries on the OPXY, and also one of my most frustrating discoveries on the OPXY, which is the internal mic sounds spectacular. And I'm going to show you in just a bit when I do the vocals on this thing. But what's extremely frustrating is that the ins and outs of this thing are probably like among the buggiest things I've ever seen. Like, for example, I discovered that if you plug in TRS MIDI and you want to control something else with the XY, there's a known bug, which I struggled with for hours and days, is that it won't recognize the MIDI port. So basically, it won't send out MIDI information. And I tried different adapters, different cables, and suddenly on a forum, I discovered that it's well known that what you have to do is you have to actually turn it off, turn it back on again with the TRS plugged in, and then it'll start sending out MIDI. Who knows why? Huge bug. The multi-out is one of the biggest features of the XY. That's something that they should work out immediately because it's big. The second bug that I found, which is actually a pretty big one because it kind of disrupts your whole workflow, is that if you want to use channel 5, which is the external input, right here, this is supposed to be the internal mic. Now, if I go into sampling, it's working. You can see that it's working. But if I go here, for some reason, it doesn't let me use it if I have this cable plugged in. However, if I grab one of these cheapo, these headphones with a microphone in them, think smartphone, there we go. Probably you can't hear it because it just, killed your feed. But you can see here, it's working. So how do I get the audio from what I'm singing now into a computer? And that's where USB comes in. Now in a quick second, let me just rearrange this so I can plug the computer in. Okay, I'm back. So what you see here is the absolute ridiculous workaround of cables and interfaces that I have to manage to get this thing to work the way I want it to. Because one of the reasons that I really wanted to get an OP1 field is that I saw some people, particularly Novak the Enjoyer. If you don't know his channel, go check it out. He's making amazing music just using the internal microphone on his OP1 field, and he gets some amazing vocals out of that. And I thought, hey, maybe the XY can do the same thing. And it can, with the huge caveat that, unlike the OP1, you can't actually record a whole track of audio in here more than 20 seconds in a sample, which kind of makes me want an OP1 field, but I don't know, 4,000 bucks for a small studio, it's getting a bit spicy. Anyway, I'm plugging in this cheapo $10 cable so that my microphone works. Because if I plug anything else in there, it'll stop working. So naturally, since I don't want to just be, singing into my headphones while I look at you in the camera, I wanted you to actually hear what's going on. So I needed a way to get the audio out somewhere else. Thankfully, the XY can act as an audio interface. So what I'm doing here is I'm going through USB into Ableton, and I'm using the XY as my audio interface. So that means that I can actually live perform something in here, and it'll show up in here with the vocals that I'm singing into this. Now, before I show you the actual finished product, let me show you how I did the scenes. So I have scene number 1, scene number 2, and scene number 3, which is basically the first verse, the bridge, and then the end verse. It only has 3 major parts, this song. And I can configure them to be played as a song. Last thing I want to show you, the internal mic is absolutely bonkers. So we're going to go into auxiliary tracks. We're going to go into number 5, and that is my mic. And what we're going to do is I'm going to give it some effects. So we're going to give it a lot of reverb, Thome Yorke style, and a little bit of delay. Now if you don't mind, I'm getting a lot of latency from my recording mic to this thing, so I'm going to take off my headphones. I'm going to trust that you can still hear me, and we're going to play this thing live. This is a waltz thinking
is the ground on which we stand. Is the darkness ours to take? Bathed in lightness, bathed in heat. All is well, long as we keep spinning. Here and now, dancing behind a wall. Hear the old songs and laughter within. All forgiven, others have never been true. When I arrive, will you come and find me in the crowd? Be one of them. Mother wants us right beside her. No tomorrows at peace.
As always, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you found this video useful, or at least entertaining. Have a great week, happy holidays everybody, and happy new year. See you next time.